Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Canine Cannibalism. Today we are going to be taking a look at Wedding Day Massacre by Aron Beauregard. This book is 241 pages, broken up into a number of unnumbered chapters. I'm not going through and counting them. Fuck that. So, a number of chapters. I will give you a quick blurb before we go any further. A man and his bride-to-be plan an extravagant wedding. Little do the guests know that someone in attendance plans to turn the party into a massacre for the history books. We're going to be doing normal things in this video, at least normal for me. We're going to be going over a content sample, which you can think of as a very robust trigger warning, more of a novelty thing, listing in very, very uncertain terms all of the bad things that happen in the book. Then we will dive into a pre-summary review, which will not include spoilers. We will then go into a summary, which obviously will include spoilers. And then if I have anything to say afterward, we'll do a little bit of discussion after the fact that will also include spoilers. So stick around. I think I also have a couple of excerpts to talk to you about right before we do the summary. Yeah, I got timestamps. Skip around if you're interested. It's all good. All right. So we are going to jump into our content sample now. If you were to pick up Wedding Day Massacre by Aron Beauregard and read it, you would find all of the following. You have your bog standard gore, torture, mutilation, and death. And in this book, that does include a lot of cannibalism, as well as a good bit of genital mutilation. In addition, you have sexual abuse, including sexual assault, rape, and incest. There is also child abuse, including physical abuse, sexual abuse, and there is also child death. A lot of child death, like child death to rival playground. So there is also scenes with feces, scenes with urine, including urophagic acts, and scenes with vomit. There is also a good bit of intimate partner abuse, elder abuse, and addiction, specifically alcoholism. And last but not least, you have general filth, including the ingestion of menstrual blood, the ingestion of smegma, and the ingestion of insects, in this book, maggots. Yeah, that's it for your content sample. That's probably one of the longest ones I've done in a while. I want to say that's probably longer than No One Rides for Free, but I'm not going back to check. So, Wedding Day Massacre. Alrighty. We're going to jump into a pre-summary review right now, and I don't think I have anything to say before we just jump right into ratings, so we're going to just do that. If you are unfamiliar with my rating system, as most of you probably are, I take certain aspects that you could theoretically rate a book on, prose, plot, that kind of thing, and I rate them on a scale from 0 to 10. These first numbers are rated on a scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is really bad, 10 is really good, and 5 is nothing. Not good, not bad, there. Usually that's I just didn't notice anything, which I'm pretty good at noticing if something's bad and noticing if something's good. So it's just kind of nothing. For Wedding Day Massacre by Aron Beauregard, your plot and plot direction is going to be a 4 out of 10. The foreshadowing in this book is laid on thick in Aron Beauregard fashion. He does the thing that if you've read a Goosebumps book will be very, very normal to you. At the end of every chapter, he lays on some pretty thick foreshadowing. It's not as bad in this book as it is in some of his others. Every chapter does not end on a random "but if only they knew" kind of thing, but some of them do. It's still annoying and grating, and I expect a little better. Some of the stuff that happens in the book, disturbing-wise, some of the scenes, are just extra, like unnecessarily extra. In a lot of books, you can really tell if the author is just trying to hit a quota, and there is specifically one scene in this book that really does feel like the author is just, yeah, let's just check that off the list. We'll just add that in. And it was just extra. It's not gross when you do something like that. It doesn't make it more disturbing. It just feels weak. It just feels weak. For your tone, it's going to be a 6 out of 10. I overall think the tone was done decently well. The characters in the book are generally helpless to the awful things happening around them. It's something that Aron Beauregard, given what I have read by him, seems to be pretty good at. The Slob, Playground Child with Divorce, kind of All Smiles Until I Return, although that theme wasn't very prevalent. Just the knowing that all of your main characters are completely innocent and completely at the whim of whatever the fuck is happening, whatever madman is controlling their destiny. It's done pretty well. It's introduced pretty well. It's carried out pretty well. It doesn't get boring. It doesn't get trite. It remains very disturbing throughout, knowing that these people cannot do anything, that if you were in this situation, you could not do anything. You would be just as dead as them. For your characters and character development, it was a 5. I didn't notice it. There wasn't any strange character development that I took note of. There wasn't any incredible character development. It was a 5. Your grammar and your typos is going to be a 2. There are a lot of comma splices, which really affect the flow. I don't remember that being the case in his other books. It very well might have been, and I just didn't notice it. But here, it is jarring at certain points. I get stylistically you can break the rules of grammatical norms a little bit if you understand why you would be doing that, but here it breaks the flow, and not in a way that feels intentional, not in a way where you're trying to break the reader's flow. It just feels poorly put together. There are a couple of sentences that are fucked, either because they are missing a word or have added a word. I specifically remember one example, and then there are typos, a good few typos near the end. None of this really affects reading comprehension very much, aside from the one sentence that I remember that was fucked because it was missing a word. It was like there was supposed to be another thing added onto a list, so the connecting word that was supposed to end the list wasn't there. Either way, not really that big of a deal, but it was a 2. Your dialogue is a 4 out of 10. It's the normal Aron Beauregard dialogue. Beauregard dialogue. It wasn't really cheesy in this book, which I really appreciate, because some of his dialogue, especially in something like Playground, was really, really fucking cheesy, especially in the beginning. But we do get things like a nice conversation about the phrase, "I'd fuck the shit out of them." And there is one specific tonal issue that I remember where a character says something that does not sound like it would have come out of their mouth given the situation. But overall, it was fine. And your prose is a 3 out of 10. It's your classic Beauregard prose. There is some really, really fucking stupid figurative language. It's very alliterative throughout. Example of the figurative language, the phrase, "and finally it was only a hair away." There is a simile at one point alluding to, or drawing the comparison between somebody giving up and a rape victim who had given up. There was another similarly stupid simile like that was just really edgy for the sake of it. And on top of all this, his prose specifically in this book, and I've complained about that before, I believe, it's over-explained. It is reiterative. It is repetitive with its explanations. Specifically, it is exhausting. He could have probably cut out 10, 15 pages if he were to go back and just say everything once. So, personal enjoyment, it was a 4. I didn't really enjoy this one very much, if I'm honest. It wasn't terrible. I would not say that it was terrible. I don't think I enjoyed it more than Playground. I may have enjoyed it slightly more than The Slob, but it wasn't very good. I definitely enjoyed it more than Son of the Slob, I will say that. Definitely did not enjoy it more than Playground Child with Divorce. So, or All Smiles Until I Return. These next two numbers are your disturbing factor and your gross out factor, rated on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is not disturbing and not gross, and 10 is the most disturbing, the most gross that you can possibly imagine. For Wedding Day Massacre by Aron Beauregard, your disturbing factor is a 7 out of 10. It is really bad, folks, really bad. Violent incest, violent forced incest, something similar to No One Rides for Free. Death, people, lots of child death, eating dead children. It's pretty fucking bad. I do not know how The Slob and Playground were the two books that really blew up on Book Talk. I'm assuming some of his other ones have, but those are the two that I saw. This is so much worse than anything I have read by him thus far. The scene, which there's always a scene in his books, at least that I can remember. The scene in this book is far worse than the scene in Playground or the scene in The Slob, which that one's more kind of iffy, but the scene with the vacuum and the dumbbell, that scene, not even remotely close to the scene in this book. So I don't know how the fuck those two are the big ones that people talk about, because this is fucked. This one is fucked. For your gross out factor, it's going to be a 4. It's pretty fucking gross. Lots of feces, vomit, urine scenes, genital mutilation, gross, disgusting stuff with incest. It's not good. Not good. Very, very gross. So, yeah, that's going to be it with spoiler-free stuff. I'm going to jump into a couple of excerpts and scenes for you now. This first scene I'm going to tell you about is between the bride-to-be, or the since-made bride, and her brother. Her brother, he has the brain of a child, and he is 19. So he's essentially he's a child anyway. And she, the bride, is forced at gunpoint to don a mask that blocks out her sight, smell, and hearing with razor blades, plural, or a ring of razor blades around her mouth. And then the brother, is tied down, and she is then forced to stimulate him while being careful to not affect his manhood negatively. And while this is happening, the maniac forcing them to do this at gunpoint makes a joke about not getting any head and beheads her brother as he approaches. And then he finishes in her mouth. She quickly stands up, skinning his manhood with the razor blade, and then proceeds to realize that he's no more. That's it for your scene. I have an excerpt to read to you. It's one of those lines that if you had no context, like you, the viewer, probably do not, you will find it either some combination of funny and disturbing. The line is as follows. If he ate that fucking rat, that meant he could damn well eat that fucking baby too. That does make sense in context, but I found it funny enough even in context to tell you about. So, that's it for your scenes and excerpts. We are going to jump into a plot summary now. Last spoiler warning before we just like the damn burst, alright? I'm going to be telling you the major plot points of the book. This is heavy spoilers now. As always, it is a plot summary. If you were to go and read the book after the summary, you would have a very different experience. No summary can get across the tone, the feeling that you have while reading the book. It can't. It really can't. In addition to that, I purposefully shorten my summaries more than necessary in order to omit some plot points so that you, if you were to go and read the book, would have a very, very different experience. I purposefully ensure that would happen. And also just for brevity's sake, for time. So, I would highly recommend you go and read this book on your own, either before or after the summary. It is a fine book if you are into that sort of thing. If you like Aron Beauregard's other works, you'll probably like this one. So, go and pick up a copy. I will leave a link in the description, as I always do. Now, let's get into the plot summary. Sebastian and Taylor are getting married. Taylor, who we are introduced to first, is a narcissistic sociopath who only cares about herself and is only with Sebastian for the money. She plans to wait a while, then frame him for abuse, divorce him, and ruin him. Sebastian is a well-to-do young man on the up and up. After the ceremony, Sebastian begins a speech during which a man dressed as a jester, who he affectionately labels Jinx, begins to do tricks. Everyone begins to grow confused. Jinx then goes about inconspicuously barricading the doors with chains. Don't ask me how he managed to do this. That's how it's phrased in the book. He inconspicuously goes around juggling balls of chains, drops a couple, and then barricades the doors. Sebastian then proceeds to reveal a bomb to the gathering. He confesses that he has been waiting since childhood to carry out some act of violence, but he never found spree or serial killing to be a good option. He claims that spree killing is over too fast, and serial killers are constantly in danger of being caught. Therefore, he plans to murder everyone in attendance in horrific ways, or nearly everyone. He promises to leave at least one survivor to tell the tale. He then has Jinx collect everyone's phones, has him shoot those that do not have phones or refuse to give them up, and then blows up the children's table. The main events then begin, which include a cannibalistic eating contest, shooting his father, Sebastian shooting his father, killing the bride's family, the bride and brother scene, which I already explained, and a WWE-style death match. Sebastian then forces all of the women to fight over a bouquet. The last person with the bouquet after a set amount of time wins. The rest will be killed. Early on, one of the women crawls up onto a decorative trim on the wall. In order to motivate the participants to get to her, Jinx begins executing as many of the women as possible. At the very end of this challenge, the winner, who is a daughter and Sebastian's cousin, is killed by another woman, her mother and Sebastian's aunt, whose brains are leaking out of her head after an unfortunate moment with a baseball bat. The aunt is then executed for breaking the rules because she grabbed the fucking flowers after the timer had run out. The men are then separated by those that can dance and those that can't. Those that can't are immediately killed, and Sebastian is inadvertently wounded. He then has the remaining men dance off to the death. A janitor named Perry, recalling his days of breakdancing in his basement, wins. The other men, save for the DJ, are dispatched. The survivors are then entered into another eating competition. This time they are each given a slice of cake adorned with the fetus and refuse that resulted from an abortion Taylor had after she got pregnant by one of her many flings. Perry wins this challenge as well and is the last survivor save for Taylor. Sebastian then confesses to Perry that the whole survivor thing was a dangling carrot. He then shoots Perry. Taylor then manages to get a hold of a gun and dispatch Sebastian. She shoots Jinx as well, who is unfortunately wearing a Teflon vest. He shoots down the chandelier onto her head. Perry arises later victorious. As an alcoholic, he always kept a flask in his chest pocket, a flask which caught the bullet for him, Rage, by Stephen King style. He realizes that he has been given a second chance and vows to do better with it. It is revealed then to the reader that Jinx is the wedding planner whom we were briefly introduced to in the beginning. I didn't even bother talking about it because it's a very, very brief introduction. The reveal really doesn't mean anything for the plot other than, ooh, look, we know that guy. Either way, we find out that Jinx has set up many of these Wedding Day massacres for willing clients over the dark web. However, this was the first one he set up in the States. And the book ends with him reading his most recent antemortem review, courtesy of Sebastian. So, that's the book. In terms of what I was saying earlier about there being something that was extremely try-hard, after the eating competition, the loser is chopped in the head with a chainsaw, and then pisses herself while doing it, and then is forced to slurp up the piss while she is convulsing in death throes and dying. That felt very forced. That felt completely unnecessary. That felt like Aron Beauregard was like, yeah, let's check off piss from the list. Like, it's just lots of people soiling themselves throughout. That specifically, her already being half dead, and then the Sebastian being like, no, go put it back where it came from. Go slurp it up. It felt stupid. It just really did feel stupid. The brother and sister scene, that was fucked. That made me feel dirty. The piss scene, just felt weak. It just felt weak. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. My opinions are my opinions, and my opinions alone. I would highly recommend you go and form your own opinions by reading the book. Yeah, that's about it. See ya.